Welcome to the Las Vegasville podcast, brought to you by Jump Studios, where we cover topics related to everything happening around Sin City, including the social media scene, food, and a whole lot more, with some of the best, most popular accounts around the city, and talk about their success in Vegas and beyond. I'm your host, Philip Zhang, aka Las Vegas Phil. Check me out on IG or TikTok, and feel free to text or leave me a voicemail at 702-551-4445. On with the show.
Damn that.
All right, welcome to the new year, 2023. First episode, we're starting with a bang. At the core of my being, it has always been about food for me. I've said this on multiple occasions that if all my social media accounts disappeared today, I'd still be going out all the time to all these great restaurants in town because that's precisely what I did before all this happened. I can't think of a better person to talk to about food in Las Vegas with its history and fine dining than the legendary John Curtas, who is this week's guest on the show. He was practically all of Vegas food media for years, starting in 1995 with weekly radio, TV, weekly radio and TV appearances, which he then parlayed into articles in national publications and great TV show appearances like Bravo's Top Chef Masters, several episodes of Iron Chef America, among a bunch of other amazing things and notable achievements that we could talk about for days. He's made such a huge mark on Vegas food and folklore. I'm thrilled to have him on the show. 13.4K on Twitter, 7,400 on IG, and almost 2,500 on TikTok. He also hosts...
TikTok. Yeah, I'm such a TikToker.
He hosts the Eat, Talk, Repeat podcast, which is really good listening. And dare I say he's the original foodie influencer in Las Vegas?
Well, I'll take it.
John Curtas, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Las Vegas Phil. Great to be here. My second appearance, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't we do one of these during COVID? I was in a sweatshirt. I don't think I'd shaved for a month or something like that.
You were in your office.
Yeah, that was such tough times back then, man. You were great, but thank you for that.
You were great. Yeah. The content was great. It was actually the second most listened to show of the first season.
All right, good. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Appreciate your format here, and you know me. I'm the elder statesman of Las Vegas food writers, so I'm always here along with you. You know, cheerleading for our local scene, even if can be a little bit curmudgeonly here and there sometimes.
Right, but that's what people love. That's what I love.
Yeah.
So last time we saw each other, there was a pizza fest, but your experience was definitely not like anyone else's.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, okay. Yeah, I shameless plug on my website, eatinglv.com. I wrote about it there. Basically, we got just shanghaied by these, puffed up, dumbass security guards. I'm a VIP. I mean, if I may say so, I'm kind of super VIP. I'm also got a press pass. I mean, I just walk into these things. They wave me in. I saw another couple who had paid for a VIP pass, and I just said waved them on in so we could all walk in together. And this big burly security guard gal went, "No cutting in line," even though the line had like 4 people in it at the time, right?
Yeah.
And then she got in the face of my friend, and it was on from there. It was very unpleasant. And then they threw him out, and I started to throw him out, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I mean, your gal was way out of line." And then they told me I had to leave too.
What a thug.
Oh, yeah, I mean, so I never got any of the Pizza Fest pizza. And, screw these security guards. And I've decided in my old age now, I'm not going to any event ever that has a fucking security guard in it, right, Phil? I mean, when I see people standing around in, matching khaki, logoed T-shirts or golf shirts, I'm going to turn around and walk away, because when you start doing that shit, I'm just not into it. I'm there for the food, and I didn't get any pizza, but... So that was the low light of my 2022, was getting tossed out of a pizza event when I didn't do anything wrong. But anyway, let's talk about something a little better than that. But how was the pizza there? I want to know, because everybody told me the guys were great, and the people there, I was totally wanted to be there for the Pizziolos and all the different places, but I didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah, all the guys that were there knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I bet they did.
And it was a great, just kind of networking event. Lots of faces I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah,
and that was more important than even the pizza. It was just the people that were there.
Yeah, I mean the Chris Deckers and the Vincent Rotolos and the John Arenas and all these people that have made our pizza scene so great. That's what I do it for. I just like the kibitz and, chew the fat with all these people, and so I was sad that I couldn't do that. But anyway, I went down to Esther's Kitchen and dropped a whole bunch of money on some pizza and wine there. So I guess it was the day wasn't a total loss.
Yeah, that's a solid plan B.
Oh yeah, solid plan B, and then over to Garage East, of course. Knocked back some wine. So we were. I always have a backup plan. I don't know about you. Do you ever do that? That's a good question. Back to Las Vegas, Phil. When I want to go someplace on the Strip or someplace, or even like in Chinatown during like this time of year, I always I want to go here. But in the back of my mind, I've got to have a plan B. Like if this doesn't work out or they're too busy or it just seems like a clusterfuck or something like that, I go, okay, we got to go somewhere else. So I always have a plan B. How about you?
Yeah, I love doing that too, especially with some place like the pizza thing, because you never know how crowded it's going to be, how insane it's going to be.
And how fed up you're going to be.
Right.
How annoyed, how quickly am I. And my annoyance level, tolerance is very, very low. It doesn't take a lot to get me pissed off.
Right.
So when I reach that threshold, my wife can look at me and go, yeah, we're leaving soon.
So I'm going to, speaking of which, I'm going to open up a bottle here. John's honor.
Thank you very much.
I don't have much fancy where it's pretty ratchet. I have a New England Patriots ice bucket.
Well, it's
with some Nicholas
Fouillat. Yeah.
Yes, the Reserve exclusive Brut.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Very good.
Glad
to have you here.
You're in my wheelhouse. You're in France.
Yes.
And you're with champagne, and life is good.
I can't bring anything from Napa.
Well, I don't want to. I shouldn't bag on Napa. There's good wine made up there, but there's so much overpriced, mediocre wine that it kind of ruins it for the good stuff they make.
Totally.
So, what do you usually drink on this show? Whatever your guest
Whatever
is?
the guest wants to drink.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have a developing liquor shelf over there.
Okay. Anybody? You ever get really hammered on the show?
I have.
Really?
I have. Yeah.
Does that make for good or bad podcasting?
I don't remember the podcast.
What about your ace staff you've got here?
If they want to, they can partake.
So everybody's drunk, huh?
I think the most fucked up I was one of the guys, Brandon from Vegas. We got high.
Yeah.
During the episode, and I was pretty lit up by the end.
Well, that reminds me. I mean, you guys are all too young, but back in the 1980s, they made movies in the 80s. You could see the cocaine on the screen, okay? I mean, you literally could see it on the screen and in the actors' eyes and in the dumb dialogue and the acting. It was like sometimes substance abuse in the furtherance of art doesn't work. All right.
Do you fuck with hard drugs and weed and stuff? Was that ever your thing? Or
back in the 80s, I did enough cocaine to fill this room back in the 80s and 90s, but my hard drugs days ended about 1995.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's kind of a lie. But let's just say, in the last 20 years, my drugging is taking a serious nosedive. I stick with wine now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never liked cocaine. I did it maybe 3 times.
Cocaine is God's way of telling you you're making too much money. Yeah. So I learned the hard way. But it was everywhere back in the 80s and early 90s, and I don't want to relive those days.
Right.
I shudder even thinking about it. Wine I can control.
So what were the?
And I don't like grass or any because grass. How old am I? I'm calling it grass. Okay.
Grass, yeah.
Mary Jane.
Cheers.
Here you go. Santé, à votre santé.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the champagne.
Yeah. You've come a long way in social since we last talked. Have your feelings about social media changed now that you're in it more?
Well, yeah, my feelings changed. I realize it's not just the future; it's the present. Okay, and I made my reputation on the printed word, and as I think I said before, the printed word is a dinosaur, and I'm a dinosaur, and I know it. So the printed word is basically being pushed into obscurity by just video, and picture. Actually, pictures are being pushed into the corners by all the videos, which I think the videos. I know that's your stock in trade, and I do like a good marketing video or just a good amateur video about something cool that happens, but it can be exhausting. Well, it can be to look at TikTok for a long time or Instagram reel after reel after reel from a marketer or from a restaurateur or even just a avid blogger. You just kind of go, really, I just show me the cheeseburger, okay? And tell me it was good, okay? So I think video can be exhausting, but I try it. I put it out there, but it also takes a lot of time. I mean, you're the expert on this. I mean, right? I mean, I put together a little tiny little like 2-minute reel, and I can do it when I have the time. It takes me like 20, 30, 40 minutes to put it together. But the people do it all the time. My God, you got to know what you're doing, have editing skills, musical skills, have a good eye, have a good ear. I mean, the audio's got to be synced. I mean, it's a lot of damn work. I admire people who can do it, but I just play at it, as an old guy, and I've got the perfect excuse because when it's shitty, I just go, hey, I'm an old baby boomer. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't hold this crappy video against me. I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying my best here, okay?
Right. What's your favorite platform? Is it IG or is it still Twitter?
Well, I like. It's funny. I get a lot of good feedback on Twitter. I do. But IG is where all the chefs are, okay? And all the avid foodies are on IG. I mean, you do get them on Twitter. Facebook is just a bunch of sorry old baby boomer farts, still worried about catching COVID. I really started to write off Facebook 2 years ago, and I don't go there much anymore. I know you don't either, really. You're just...
I'm actually trying to now. Yeah. Facebook Watch has really raised the level.
Oh, they really?
Yeah, so I've been trying to...
You didn't used to be, though, right?
No, not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But Instagram is where... When I post something about an article I've written or a website thing, or I really do something I think kind of cool, I notice that's where I'm getting, the 2,000 views or 1,000 views, 800 views of shit. Whereas Facebook has always just devolved into being, they tell you have 5,000 friends, but you're really playing to the same 40 people choir all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe 100 or 200 people, but and Mark Zuckerberg, nobody's ever called out Facebook for the fraud of that. Okay. Maybe people have, people were writing articles about this years ago, but it never caught up with them to the point where people went, well, screw this noise. I mean, why do you tell me, let's say, okay, you're not a media guy like you and me. Like I have 5,000-6,000 friends or whatever I have, but what if you just have like 600 friends, and you realize, oh my God, I have 600 friends, and I know a lot of these people, but the same 60 people are the ones seeing everything I do.
Yeah.
I mean, why am I on this platform talking to the same, and why aren't I looking at it and rebelling against that? Well, that's when I decided during COVID with all the dumb baby boomer backlash on COVID, I just decided to get to peel back on Facebook. I'm not going back either. To me, if I keep going in social media, it won't be TikTok. It'll be just Instagram and Twitter, and that'll be it. So.
Okay. Well, you had a couple posts go off on TikTok. You had a 1.1 million.
Yeah.
The duck video from France.
Yeah, but what, tell me, oh wise one, old sage Philip Zing, tell me why is it that you can put that on and get 1,000 people to view, and then I can put something on 4 months or 5 months later that is equally cool, and it gets half of the engagement? What's going on there?
TikTok's been a really finicky place, and I think the food sector has been really oversaturated. If I knew the answer to that, all of my posts would smack as well, and unfortunately they don't.
But so I know scaling it up, because I know you have a much bigger following than I do, but so even scaling it up at your level, you'll get huge engagement, and then you'll see the engagement drop in half or to 3/4 less?
Yeah, there's been a lot of influencers that have gone through a really bad dry spell over the last 6 months to a year.
Do you think because there's too many people around?
Too many, yeah. Oh, and I think a lot of people feel the way you feel when they're looking through reels and looking through. It's exhausting.
Yeah. And not to mention all the girls in bikinis. Oh, did I just say that out loud?
Yeah.
It's actually a joke with my wife. I'll go, look, I looked at this girl in this bikini for like an extra 8 seconds. And now my suggested TikTok will be 15, 20-year-old girls in bikinis. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I mean, or I'll stumble upon a baseball video, and then it'll be nothing but baseball videos hitting my feed all the time. It's really effed up, don't you think?
I agree. The algorithm for TikTok is not great for suggesting new stuff. I think YouTube does a better job.
Really?
And I think perhaps maybe this time next year we're going to be talking about YouTube as overtaking TikTok
Oh, really?
in that short format. Yeah.
Well, why shouldn't they? Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't do, but the other thing with TikTok is you've got to have time to do the damn videos.
Yes.
And that is just, it's a skill that I'm sure a 14-year-old does better than I will ever do. And
Well, they have more time.
They have more time, right? and I try, like, I've tried to sync with music. Oh, it's just it's embarrassing watching me try to do it. I just wish there were a teenager in the house I could grab onto. So.
Well, let's talk about the holidays a bit. You were in London.
Oh, yes, I was.
Looked like an epic trip.
Oh gosh.
And I need to do that next time. I need to hit up the classic spots
Oh yeah.
that you did. How was that? When was the last time you were there?
Well, last time I was there about 10 years ago. So it's been 10 years. And I say to people, I know travel is a pain in the neck, and no matter where you go. But if you have the coin and the time, you should, and you're a fan of Christmas, the whole Harry Potter thing, whatever you want to call it, Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, London at Christmas time is a magical place. I mean, it is just transporting how they light the city up, and it's a throwback. I mean, I was my wife and I were constantly thinking we had walked through a time warp, and we're in a Jimmy Stewart movie of 1955. I mean, the men are in coats and ties, the ladies with their beautiful coats. Everybody's shopping in big department stores with wonderful display windows, and then you go down little side streets, and there's all kinds. There's a female shoe store. There's a sweater store. There's a bakery. There's a coffee shop. You just felt like you were in America in the 1950s and 60s. I mean, and this is the way they live in London. They're not putting this on as a Disneyland thing. This is the town, right? And it's just like, I mean, it's cold as F, let me tell you.
It was pretty cold.
Oh, we had the thermals on. We each took like 3 pairs of thermals, and we only took them off to take a shower. But London is a magical place. We ate at some super classic old places. Wilton's, which has been a restaurant or a seafood place since 1742. Remember, think of that. That's 50 years before America was even thought about.
I got to go next time.
Yeah, and then that was Wilton's. We went to Rule's, which is the oldest continuing operation under the same family restaurant. That's since like 1798. And they do things like game and seafood there. English food gets a bad rap. I mean,
Totally
what
does.
they do well, they do really well. Well, Dover sole from Dover, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Partridge, pheasant, things like that literally is shot or farmed somewhere near venison, oysters, seafood. I mean, it's really great. I mean, it's just I can't wait to go back. I made my wife the promise we'd go back, but 1 month earlier next time. So maybe it's about 10 degrees less frigid the whole time. So.
Yeah, we're talking summer next time.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that we didn't get to do. We didn't even see London Bridge. I was such a bad tour guide for my wife who had never been. We've literally just ate the entire time, and
Well, yeah,
so many other places we needed to go.
Where did you remember any places you went?
The Frog with Adam Handelberg was amazing. I met up with one of the London foodies.
Yeah.
But really, the most disappointing restaurant was Gordon Ramsay's 3-star Michelin restaurant.
No
Restaurant
kidding.
Gordon Ramsay.
Tell me why. I love dish the dirt. The Schadenfreude at work here. Go ahead.
So they only have 2 choices for menus. There's the carte blanche menu and then the premier menu.
Right.
And looking back, having never been there, I should have gone with the premier menu because it had all the greatest hits.
Right.
Where the carte blanche was probably for someone who's been there a few times and just wanted to change it up.
Right.
So it was a mixed bag.
Yeah.
And I told him that. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the other thing, Ramsay so diluted his brand so much. I'm sure he employs great people. I mean, like a lot, like the Minas and Wolfgang Pucks, and I mean, they employ great people, but at some point they're also sort of coasting on reputation too. I think these places. Well, I did not do a 3-star meal there, mainly because I had trouble getting into a couple of the better Michelin 3-star restaurants because I tried to book like a month in advance, and literally. I was trying to, before Thanksgiving, I was trying to book well before Thanksgiving, and I'm being told our first available reservation is January the 8th, sir. So places do fill up. But Where's one? Well, I went to the place that's known for nose to tail. I call it the holy grail of nose to tail cooking, called St. John. It's in the meatpacking Smithfield area of North London. And went there and had lamb's kidneys, each about the size of our heads, okay? I mean, lamb's kidneys are not these little chopped up things you get in France. These were the whole friggin' kidney. And it tasted, as I said in my post, it had the faintest tang of urine about the kidney. And that's what the gourmets look for. I mean,
right.
Can you imagine? So, and even the waitress came over because I thought they were going to give me like 2 kidneys. They gave me like 8 kidneys, 8 half kidney or 4 half kidney, 8 big giant things, each about the size of your fist.
Damn.
And I got about halfway through it, and the waitress said, "Yes, I apologize. It's a lot of one thing, isn't it?" I said, "Sure is." But everybody, if you like offal, OFFAL, that's a place to go to. St. John did that. Also went to the oldest wine bar in London. Here's one for you, Phil, because since we're drinking, cheers again.
Cheers.
Cheers. I go to a wine bar, oldest wine bar in London called Gordon's. It's kind of subterranean. You walk in and you walk down a few steps. So it's like a lower level of an old building. Very low ceilings, kind of cave-like with some vaulted ceilings there. And everybody there is younger than me. I mean, I'm an aging boomer. Most of the crowd, I'm saying 20s, 30s, early 40s, young professional types, a lot of people. And they're all walking up to the bar. And you know what they're drinking? Guess what they're drinking?
Espresso martinis?
No. I'm going to blow you.
No.
Rewind the clock. Think Sherlock Holmes. They're drinking
Absinthe?
port and sherries.
Wow.
I mean, so here I am at this wine bar, and it was packed. And I'm kind of staked out. We're kind of tucked into a corner watching all these kind of young professional women and guys and people in business suits. And they're all getting Amontillado sherries, Fino sherries, late bottle vintage ports, things like that. They also have wine there. I mean, you can have champagne there. You can have red wine, Chablis, whatever you want. But everybody's drinking these old you can't give port away in America. You could go to any restaurant in this town and put expensive sherry or port, the best of the best from Spain or Portugal, on a bar and say $1 per drink, and it would just sit there, And here they're all going in there, and that's walking around with these little fancy little glasses like the ones we have right here, full of ports and sherries, and that's what all the young people are drinking in London. Go fucking figure, huh?
So cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
First week of 2023, great time to kind of reflect on the past year. Best of 2022, you played a big role in the Desert Companion Awards, along with Jim Begley, Genevieve Dorano, and Heidi Ranella. How much of a collaborative effort is that to put together? And when do you start putting it together?
We start in October, like I said, late September, early October. We get together a couple of times, and then there's lots of emails back and forth.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, we have a lunch. We usually have 1 or 2 luncheons, and then we and we find out who everybody kind of nominates things very, very casually. Say, well, here's like my 2 or 3 candidates. Here's mine. Then we have a lunch and we kind of hash it out. And some of them we immediately agree upon, like John Arena as Restaurateur of the Year for all the work he's done at Metro Pizza in town. Legend. That was a no-brainer.
Absolute legend, yeah.
Anima by Ito for Restaurant of the Year was a no-brainer because, let's face it, everybody, and in fact, I want to hear your take on some of these. But then there are some back and forth about new restaurant of the year, neighborhood restaurants of the year, chef of the year, and generally we reach a consensus. Back in the day, I started out. My favorite story is I was a committee of one back in like 1997 when I started these things. So I would just figure out who I wanted to give the awards to. But over the years, over like 15 years, it evolved where we still had committees together of people, of writers, but I kind of had veto power. I was sort of the first among equals at the table. But now it's kind of evolved, and I'm glad it has now, because I'm kind of on the wane of my career in this thing, and younger, and well, even though Heidi's no spring chicken either, but we have Jim Bagley and this Genevieve Durano. Do you know her?
I met her recently at a dinner. Yeah.
And we these people they've got an interesting perspective, but I kind of want it to be more collaborative now because I think I've got one more year of doing this, and then I'm going to sail into the sunset. I'll probably do it through 2023, but I'm glad to see it's in good hands. Desert Companion, I mean, it's serious because I mean we all write about food all the time, and a lot of these awards are just just crap that they hand out. I mean the RJ ones are just ridiculous. And I hate to say it, even Eater Awards were ridiculous. I mean, she gave Chef of the Year to the guy
Patrick Munster.
Munster, yeah. Who's a great chef.
He's a great chef. He was there for like an hour.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he started the gig like a month ago.
He was at one steakhouse for the majority of the year, and then he went chef of the year. I was wondering.
And it's like stuff like that. So, I mean, I like to think, over 15 years, the Desert Companion Awards are the product of thoughtful, engaged restaurant critic writers who are in the game all the time. And that gives them a little more clout. We also, as I said, I gave a little speech during the awards, started tearing up. It was a lot of tears. But they're also, they're not everybody gets an award kind of thing. There's only 10 awards, okay? 10 awards, or maybe this year it might have been 9. And it's not like you're going to give all the shit. Everybody's going to be able to do this. And, praise, as we like to say, gains its value from its scarcity, okay? If everything's great, then nothing's great, okay? So we like to think that gives them a deserving effect, and the people were great. Nicole Brisson became Chef of the Year.
So that Breza's a great restaurant.
Breza's great. So you tell me, I like to flip it back whenever I'm interviewed because I talk too much. I want to hear your take on what if you were the god potentate major domo right here giving out the same awards, which ones would you agree or disagree with?
So I think the only thing is the category. Asian Restaurant of the Year.
Is that racist?
I have a growing disdain for the lumping of everything into Asian.
Okay, fair play, as the Brits would say.
So when I see an article, Best Asian Noodles in Las Vegas, a white guy wrote it. Sorry. True.
I'm extremely white. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. I will say this. No, I would never say Asian noodle. I know enough. I mean, there are noodles, there are noodles. There is pho, there is ramen, there is udon. There are saying that's a real signifier of idiocy to say best Asian noodles, right? Asian restaurant. Okay, yeah, a fair play. I get it. I'm going with you there.
I feel like Japanese and Chinese, at least, there's enough in town to separate them. But
yeah.
I understand if you have 10 awards, you can't do it like
I think at one point we wanted to say Spring Mountain Road, but I said, we got to go across. It used to be, up until like 8 years ago, it was only on Spring Mountain Road. But now there's good stuff. Hero Sushi in Henderson is fabulous. Have you been out there?
Place. Yes.
Just great.
Yeah.
So you just can't confine it to that. Yeah, but for what it's worth, there was some discussion, not even this year, even last year, about is that really a little too, I wouldn't say racist, but just a little too confining. You know what I mean? It's not. But on the other hand, when you start breaking it into, Vietnamese and Korea and everything, then I think
it can be too much. I understand.
Sorry, I don't want to hit this thing.
It's okay. It's all right.
Okay.
Where else? I pretty much agreed with everything else. I love Scotch 80, and I think that was a really cool way to go as the second coming with Chef Marty.
Yeah.
And what he's
great.
doing. Were there any winners that you were like, well, I don't know, maybe you can't say, but you were like, I don't know, but you agreed to it at the end because.
All right, give them to me again. Most
okay, so Neighborhood Restaurants was a tie. You got Corey's and Rosa.
And Rosa, I was totally behind both of those.
Yep.
One's been around for a long time. One was brand new, but two ends of the spectrum. I loved it. Okay.
Asian Restaurant was Trattoria Nakamura. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody loved it. Well, there was a lot of debate. For what it's worth, there was a lot of debate about that because we all had about 10 different. Everybody threw out one.
There was a lot.
I mean, it was just getting down to one, but we all agreed on them. But we could have given that to 9 other restaurants or 20 other restaurants. Okay.
So I personally would have gone with the Kaiseki Sanga
I'll tell you why I don't like Kazakhstan in a minute, but let's go through this.
Okay. All right. Piero's for Hall of Fame, yes.
Yes, and I wrote it in the magazine.
Yeah.
But okay, keep going.
Peppermill, I mean, yeah, it's
iconic.
I know it's iconic, but cheese and the potatoes, and
the
chives.
The food is just,
Yeah.
You don't go there for the food. And I didn't write that one, but I would have said that it was my father's favorite restaurant. He would get off the plane and want to go to the Peppermill.
Yep.
Okay, he would. So I think on some level it's a Hall of Fame award. It's not Chef of the Year award. So on that level I could go with it. Okay, go ahead.
You got Rising Star of the Year, Eric Prado for Garage East, Nicole Brisson for Chef of the Year. Breza Strip Restaurant of the Year. New Restaurant of the Year was Scotch 80, and the Restaurant of the Year was Anima.
Yeah, Anima. So who would you give me a rising star? Right, I actually threw my weight around in that one a little bit because I wanted Eric to get it. Okay, and I kind of said I'm going to write it, and they kind of went, okay, John, just calm down. We'll let you do. But I think there's other worthy candidates for that too. So and Eric is a wine guy, not a food guy, but I just thought Garage East had made such a splash in sort of redefining our wine culture in this town. I mean, wine's a tough sell, just like port and sherry is a tough sell in this town. I mean, this is the vodka, tonic, espresso martinis, tequila shots, another mezcal bar? Yeah, that's what we need, another mezcal bar, okay? I'm sorry, screw all these cocktail bars. I mean, I love good cocktails, but you get oversaturated. But Garage East has reset the paradigm and created a market for itself. By serving interesting, obscure wines, and it's packed all the time.
It is
with 20 and 30 and 40-year-old people. Not my aging boomers. We're all out in Summerlin, playing golf and
Oh,
drinking White Claws or whatever the fuck we all drink out there. What is White Claw, by the way?
White Claw is carbonated soju or something. I don't know. Yeah, seltzer. Yeah.
Booze?
Yeah, it's Bud Light without the beer.
Can you get buzz on it?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like 5%.
Is it like Bartles and James?
We should be drinking
day?
that just to have your first time reaction. I don't know if we have any here, but holy shit, that would be funny.
Does it exist? Like in my day, it was Annie Green Springs, Boone's Farm, and Bartles and James. We existed solely to get women drunk enough to take their clothes off. Is that the same purpose of this? I mean, that's the whole point of these drinks.
They would sell more of that if they marketed it that way, probably.
Yeah.
But think of it Zima, but less sweet.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
Right. Well, I'll probably never have one, but this is very tasty champagne.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad. There's a lot of pressure to know what bottle to bring for John Curtas.
Yeah, well, you did well.
Yeah.
You go with French champagne. I'm good. If there was any $2 Chuck, I would leave it.
I know.
Anybody serving me fucking Merlot, I'm out of here.
I would kill myself. So going back to the early days, I had no idea that you actually made your own awards. You made your own plaques. You drove them around to the winner's place.
For 5 years, I did it that way.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, but the KNPR was all behind me. I mean, I was on the air there for 15 years. But they said, yeah, give it out awards, and you can put them on the air, and we'll do it. But I was paying for them and walking in and handing them to people, and they were like, what's this? And I went, it's an award. Well, now it's kind of a thing. But back, in 1999, it wasn't a thing yet, so.
Yeah, and that really says a lot about where Las Vegas food was at the time.
Yeah.
Between 97 and 2005. You were going to go back to talking about
Sangha?
Sangha. Yeah, why didn't you include Sangha?
Because it's bro sushi, bro. It's just too much about the, look at that big hairy
presentation.
Crab.
Right.
Okay. Oh, look at me. I got a 15-pound piece of tuna here. Watch me slice it. It's all for sushi bros, okay? I'm a Japanese purist when it comes to food, okay?
I know you support the Japanese community a lot.
And I love the Japanese restaurants here and the chefs. And having been to Japan, I'm hardly an expert, but I have spent some time in Japan. Japanese food is about simplicity and purity and the purity of technique and the exquisiteness of things. And what Sangha does, I love the guy, Kengo, is it not Kengo? That's Sagawa-san, who owns it. I love what he's done with Manta, and he's been a huge force for good on Spring Mountain Road and with Asian food, Japanese food in Las Vegas. But I went to Sanga and I realized this is bro sushi for white guys. Okay, we're gonna dress it up, charge a mint, and make the presentation and the overblownness of the cooking and the sort of the dramatic theater of it all count as much as what's on the plate, which is very, very antithetical to what Japanese food is about. You know, I mean, I like Kabuto and Yui Sushi and Hiro Sushi where it's just you and a chef or you know, even yakitori places like Toradoro Raku,
Toradoro, yeah.
where it's just
so good.
You know, it's me, it's you, it's this exquisite ingredient, it's this pristine technique, and we're cooking and we're eating on some very Zen-like way. Well, Sanga blows that up, okay, and it'll have a market and it'll do well. And their ingredients are great. The chefs are great. But as I'm looking around, I'm going, this is for fucking white guys here. Okay, this is for rich white dudes. All right, this isn't for purists looking for the most ethereal Japanese food in town. So I'm kind of damning them with praise. I'm criticizing them, but it's a good restaurant. It's just not my style of taking in that kind of food.
They go out of their way to make a presentation, make a show that someone can film something about the experience.
It's all for the Insta, okay?
Where at Kaiseki Yuzu, I can't even get a video together when I'm there because, you know, Chef Aze has his back to me the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's it, yes. Yeah, you go, please stop me. No, I'm too busy making sure this is the most life-changing little slice of fish you've ever had. And so it's that to me. That's how I like to take my Japanese food. And Kaiseki Yuzu, I'm glad you mentioned it because that's another one. And I had a debate on my little shameless plug alert on Eat Talk Repeat with Sam Mirjovsky, who's kind of the sponsor of the thing, and he's on. He's a funny guy with a good sense of humor, and he likes food. He eats out a lot, and he goes, well, you know, you just. I called it bro sushi, and he's just all upset and everything.
I saw his post. He raved about it back in August.
Yeah, he did. I mean, so it's just not my thing, okay? I'd rather go to Kaiseki Yuzu.
I got you.
Or Kabuto, or Yui Sushi. Okay.
Totally. In a lot of ways, to me, Sanga is kind of like if Kame and Yuzu had a baby, and that's what they were going for.
Right. Yeah. And, well, Kame's kind of become the same thing, although I don't think there's over the top as Kanga is, you know.
Yeah, it can be.
I've only been to Kame twice, so I haven't been there in like 2 years.
My wife, who's Japanese, was saying, you know, you'll never see a Japanese person in Kame.
Yeah, you won't.
Besides her, because I dragged her.
well, she's saying what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can kind of walk in and go, you're not going to see him in there. Because it's going to be guys going, hey, dude, look, I paid $500 for this fucking greatest. Man, you cannot afford not to buy this, right? And you just look at them and there were guys in there like that. And good for them. If it gets them laid, I'm happy.
Yeah, a lot of poker ballers there.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. So anyway, nothing against Sanga. Sagawa-san's a great guy. Love what he does. If that's how he wants to take money off the dumb white men, go ahead, please. You got my permission.
They dropped a lot of influencers. I think they really invited so many. I think at least $15K in food. I think they spent on influencers for the first 2 months.
Yeah,
more than any other Japanese place ever did.
Yeah.
So I hope
did it help?
Off. I hope it paid off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I gotta ask somebody.
They had a little funky little sign. It looked almost hand painted on the front there for a while. So
yeah.
But again, even if it's not my style, it's like some of the stuff going on South Rainbow. I'm just happy and even in Henderson, because the Asian food is just blown up in this town. Okay, and it's gotten. I mean, it was good 20 years ago, but it is great now.
Amazing.
I think the Japanese food scene. I've written guys one of my dinner companions in London was Marina O'Loughlin, who is with the Sunday. Well, she just retired after 5 years, but she's been writing the restaurant column for the London Times for 5 years. And I said, you need to come and see the Asian food scene, because our Japanese chefs are just, and they're accessible, and it's probably easier to get to than the Los Angeles stuff going on. And a lot of it's the same food, right, Phil? I mean, it is. I mean, they always say, oh, we get better stuff. Everybody gets good stuff these days.
Same suppliers.
Yeah, same suppliers. Same guys bringing in fish here from the Hokkaido scallops that are coming to Yui Sushi here are the same Hokkaido scallops that are going to, some fancy restaurant in San Francisco.
Right.
Don't pretend that you're so much better. Screw that. So
your worst meals of the year. It was a tie between Lago and Pepper Club.
Yeah.
I did remember seeing that pic you posted at Pepper Club, and whatever that shit was terrible.
Yeah. That was what they call chirashi sushi. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked like I gave a 5-year-old a butter knife and cut up some fish for me. Okay. Thank you.
And then
Todd English.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird that English went Japanese.
Well, when he was there, it was good. But typical chainification of restaurants, brand whoring that they all do. It's great when they show up and, he's there for the first month. He's watching the kitchen like a hawk. He's a great chef. And it's good. Then they hire, the third string because he's tired of it. Now he's got another project. And then you get, fish cut with a butter knife by a 4-year-old. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I also love the list of things. By the way, you got to go to eatinglv.com. So many gems. Recently, you gave a list of things you're totally over.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. Caviar. You're over caviar. Everything caviar. I know.
Don't you think
that
it's
way.
overdone?
Yes.
They throw it on everything. They throw this shit on everything.
But who am I to say no? If they're going to offer it, I'm going to take it.
But it's cheap shit now. That's why you see it in everywhere. I swear to God, Cheesecake Factory and Outback are throwing it on their baked potatoes now, okay? I mean, there's a reason. And when they go, ooh, yeah, I think I need another drink.
Yeah.
I need another.
All right.
To get going with this rant.
Outback has caviar?
No.
Probably.
It's only a matter of time, Phil.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time. Thank you. Nice champagne, by the way. Very good. So this idea, and it's always offended me that this is how money ruins food. Money. Here, let's have a toast here. Let's have a.
All right.
And and these are not champagne glasses.
These are not champagne glasses.
but they're quite
Cheers.
sufficient. I actually think these would be good for whiskey. These are whiskey tasting.
Yeah, these are whiskey tasting. I got these at a Suntory tasting at Zuma at Cosmo a couple months ago.
You could also do all kinds of aperitifs, and sherry would go well out of this glass too.
Yeah. Yeah, I only have 2 nice champagne flutes at home, and Ayumi, my wife, would kill me if I fucked them up.
Oh yeah. See, it's funny. I have about 20 champagne flutes at my house, but I've got 4 really expensive ones, and I only break those out only when there's like a few people around, because when you get a bunch of people drunk and the ching and ching, and then you're washing like 10 in a row. There, so. You're right in my house if you get one of these Baccarat crystal ones, and it's so damn thin. I mean, it's like the stem on it looks like it's gonna, it could break like a piece of spun sugar. It's crazy. Anyway, where were we? I'm getting drunk.
I don't know, caviar. So you went to the caviar house in London. You were saying caviar should be sweet and nutty, not salty and fishy like the majority of the ones here.
Because it's all farm raised stuff.
Yeah.
And in London, they're still getting Black Sea and Caspian Sea fish. Okay, it's very highly regulated, but they still release it to some of these better. I mean, you can get Caspian beluga in London. It's $350 for like a teaspoonful. So I didn't go that high, but I went with their Osetra, which was $150 for like a tablespoon of it. But it was just on a level where the pearls are big. They're not all mushed together, and they're so individual you can almost taste in the individual in your mouth. And you just take your tongue and press them against the top of the roof of your mouth, and they burst, and they release this sort of, it's a nutty, sweet saltiness that all this farm-raised crap that chefs are throwing on everything is just fishy and salty. I mean, there's a fishy component to caviar, but it didn't get to be famous because it was fishy. Because fishy everything can be fishy. You know what I mean? There's nothing sophisticated about that. It's got to attain that extra dimensional umami level of something else besides that just jumped out of the ocean kind of thing. And I got that in London. But even before I went to London, I mean, I've had beluga back in the day before it became illegal or not imported over here. Caviar is just overdone. I mean, it's just and when you see it in nice restaurants. I mean, Guy Savoy, one of my favorite restaurants in the world, overdoes it. Joel Robuchon overdoes it. Cut Steakhouse overdoes it. Bazaar Meat overdoes it. You know, screw this caviar. I don't want it. Okay, I want again. It's like good sushi. I want it in pure form because in pure form is the way it was meant to be eaten. If you're going to kill a giant fish for its eggs, you should appreciate it for something other than throwing a glop of it on top of mashed potatoes or every piece of sushi coming off the chef's knife. And that's what I have against it. So caviar, I'm totally over. End of rant. I need a drink. Okay.
It's easy to add luxury to something. And
but it's faux luxury.
I know.
It's not real luxury.
You're right.
Hey, what else was I ranting about?
A lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
Orange wine, natural wines. Speaking of,
fuck those. Oh. I'm trying to keep my F-bombs under control.
it's okay. I love the F-bombs.
Okay,
You know
all right. Well, I just that's too esoteric. That's a wino complaint. All these damn millennials and Gen Zers who go, I want orange wine. It smells and tastes like dirty socks, but they read somewhere like 8 years ago that it was the cool thing,
Right.
and now all these people go to wine bars and want it, even though it tastes like shite.
I'm guilty of doing the natural flight.
Okay, give me a Grand Cru Burgundy any day, or a nice champagne from Nicolas Fouillot. Yes. Okay. What else?
What else? There's a lot. Japanese beef.
Don't you think it's overdone?
I mean, if they're using real Japanese beef in the first place, because everyone labels it Wagyu
Yeah.
when it's not even Wagyu.
But every steakhouse has it now. I mean,
Yes.
it was almost impossible to get back in the 90s. Then it became extremely rare and coveted in the early 2000s. And now every premium steakhouse can dial up a distributor if they can have the market for it and get it. So what's the big deal? And I don't think it's all that great.
It's not something you could have every day. It's a treat because
know-
it's too rich.
Well, you know how they serve in Japan when, as part of a kaiseki meal or an omakase meal, they will just, excuse me, I'm slurring my words already. As far as omakase meal, they will just serve you like a couple of slices of something, and just the way they do it at kaiseki yuzu.
Yeah.
You know, it's incorporated into the meal as just a fatty, rich adjunct to everything else you're doing. But now it's like the giant steaks of it crap. I don't think it's worth it, you know, and it's real expensive. So
I got you. And finally, Martha fucking Stewart.
have you been to her place?
I haven't been to the Bedford.
You want to go?
I don't know if I want to go. $90 roast chickens, like the whole baked potato presentation that looked like.
I don't know. We should go, Phil.
You think we should go?
We should go and just savage it, okay? And you get all your video guys there, and we'll just savage stuff.
That might be
Fuck
funny.
out of it,
That might
okay?
be funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, no doubt, best of lists awards are necessary for the restaurant business.
Yeah.
But what about on a national level, specifically James Beard?
Well, I've gone through this before. I'm going to briefly. Brief is not usually in my vocabulary, but let's be brief. I'm going to tell you what my experience with James Beard was 10 years ago. It was started like 12 years ago. For like 5 years, I was on the voting panel. And then in 2010, they came to Vegas and they stayed at the Cosmo right when it opened, January 2010. And they asked me to set up a bunch of tastings around town for them. And I had been voting, not on the super exclusive final voting panel, but as one of the 300 voters.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for several years at the time.
You were the first one in Vegas to do that.
That's the first one to do it. Yeah, no one had done it before. And so they came to town. I met everybody, and I was on good terms with them. And I showed them around. We actually had like those big, those vans. That I had like 30s. I had Michael Bauer from New York, from San Francisco. I had the lady from Los Angeles. I had Phil Vettel from Chicago. I had
all the big guys.
All the big people back. We're talking a decade ago.
Yeah,
now.
legends.
And they were all on the bus, and we took them to Lotus of Siam, and they went to Joel Robuchon, and I took them to Raku. Went to Raku, and I had a good relationship with him. And the year later, that's when when Joel Robuchon, the best chef Claude Latoic wins best chef Southwest along with Saipan Chutama. And I kind of feather in my cap, feeling good about it. And then about a year or two later, they say, well, we're going to take you out of the Southwest category and put you in with California, okay?
Oh, so it was separate before that?
It was separate.
Oh,
there was a Southwest category
Yeah.
of Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, which is as it should be. I think maybe even Texas is in it, which is as it should be. No, we're going to put you, California, and Hawaii in the same thing. This was like 2013. I hit the fucking roof, and I wrote letter campaign, and I went, you're basically just saying that Las Vegas doesn't matter anymore. And I said it. And we're going to put you in with California so it doesn't look like California has its own category, which it should be.
Totally should.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which it then eventually 10 years later ended up being again.
Yeah.
I said, so you're just screwing Las Vegas. You gave them a couple of awards and went, fine, now we can ignore you for the next years. And they kicked me off the panel, okay?
And then what year was that?
I think my last voting year was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 2013 was the last year I actually voted. I think it was like from 2008 to 2013.
And Lotus was actually the last winner in Vegas.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
2011.
Exactly, 2011. So they kicked me off, and then I watch it closely, and it just seems. When I saw it there, they voted, but then they had this exclusive panel of like 10 or 20 restaurant writers, all from major newspapers. I wanted to get on that, but the fact that I didn't write for a newspaper, and they never even invited Heidi, Heidi Napernello. They never even invited her.
Because they didn't take Vegas maybe as seriously. Yeah.
So they took me kind of seriously.
Yeah.
And I raised a fit, and then they cast me aside, and then they kept Vegas for like the next 8 years. Vegas doesn't get any traction because we're in with California, which gets all the votes and all the nominations and everything. And I just noticed that it got more and more political. It got more and more. I mean, some states just got screwed. Chicago got screwed every year. Nobody paid. Houston gets screwed every year. Places with great food scenes just getting ignored because basically a bunch of elites from California and New York newspapers and food media kind of just decide who we're going to dub as, well, we'll get an award, you'll get an award, and you'll get an award. Okay? The voting, I don't think, really counts for shit. I think at the end, all the people, nominations come in from everywhere. It gets voted on by like 300 or 400 people, and then basically the board of directors of like 10 or 20 people just decide who they want to get the awards, and that's how it works. So screw the James Beard Awards. We don't need them anymore. I don't think Vegas needs them. I think 10 years ago it was a great feather in the cap, but I don't think we need them anymore. Now that's my rant. Now I want to hear your rant.
So yeah, I was a judge last year. I was super honored to be chosen because I don't think they had anyone since you.
No, it had nobody from here.
But it was such a ridiculous experience, and I gave it up this year. And because not only did I need to write a long, exhaustive thing about my computer just shut off about the restaurant, but I needed to talk about how they're contributing to society.
Oh, no, that
like all the
joke
charitable
shit.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
Basically, they're looking for a young mom and pop Jose Andres.
Yeah.
They're never going to find it.
Right. Oh, it also helps if Mom and Pop Jose Andres are a trisexual Panamanian and Nigerian, boat survivor. You know what I mean? With one arm, and three little kids. One of whom is Siamese. Two of whom are Siamese twins.
Right.
Then
the automatic shoe-in Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Yeah. I mean, that's what they want now. It's become a woke joke now.
It was crazy.
And they put that. See, I used to have to write those essays.
Yeah.
But they were back, again, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. It was just sort of, here's why I think Saipan Chutama should be, Thailand immigrant, great restaurant, comes here, huge fans from all over the Southwest. People are calling her, Jonathan Gold, greatest Thai restaurant. I mean, it was easy. It was like, it was a paragraph, but it was just raving about what I like. But they put an overlay on you guys, right?
It was insane.
Yeah.
Well, they were apparently everyone was up in arms because 40 white guys won the year before.
Okay.
Basically. And then they needed to diversify, which was why they picked me because I'm Asian. I think.
Well, that's not the only reason they picked you. You're also you've got some clout in this town, which is great.
Right. But yeah, it was just exhausting. And I was really, my whole view on James Beard was completely shot to pieces. I mean, anyone who brags they're a semifinalist on a bio is fucking bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have had, I'm not going to name names. I could, but since people actually listen to your podcast instead of mine, I'm not going to name names. But there are people to this day who talk about, who have gotten nominated as best chef, Southwest from Vegas. I went, they're not only not the best chef from here, in that category, they're not even the 15th best chef in that category, okay?
So
in
weird.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But it's just whoever wants to stuff the ballot, and that's all the semifinalists are. Can you get 5 or 10 or 50 of your friends to stuff the ballot, then you'll get on there and claim that you're a semifinal. It has nothing to do with merit, okay? If it had to, I mean, Claude Letoic deserved it for what he did at Joel Robuchon. And Saipan Chutama deserved it. Dominic Kren in San Francisco deserved. There are chefs truly, truly deserving. But underneath that top layer, or that 10 or 15% that are truly exceptional, there are 80% of the nominees are just ballot stuffing crap, okay? And that's why they should be ignored by people. I don't think we need them anymore. So
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't know how many Oklahoma City restaurants were killing it. I mean, so many were nominated. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, or suddenly you'll see like 4 nominations out of Mississippi. Because, they've got such a vibrant restaurant scene in the state of Mississippi. I mean, what the fuck? I mean,
I don't know.
Now, the trouble is now, it was always had a layer of bullshit involved. But now with this woke stuff, now that is baked into the nominations, which is kind of like thumb on the scale. With, like you say, you're an Asian or you this, let's help. If you're trisexual, that helps all the more. Okay. What?
Our next guest next week will be...
trisexual. Exactly. She have one arm and she Panamanian Nigerian.
Anyways, but yes, I agree. Why do you think Michelin hasn't been back to Las Vegas since 2009?
Because they won't pay them. Because Michelin wants to be paid. See, they came here in 2008 and 2009. And they came here as on their own when they still had some credibility, but their business model was come in, make a splash with their guide, and then get the local chambers of commerce or tourist agencies to fund the guide and pay them in advance for their hard costs in doing it. Well, Las Vegas Convention Center didn't bite. Okay, and they've tried again and again. California bites, Honolulu bites, Korea bites, Seoul Korea bites, Japan. I mean, why do you think
There's
Japan,
so many in Japan. Holy shit.
I mean, you look at the Michelin again, kind of worthless. You know what I mean? They've watered down their product. They went from being this really, really punctilious, effete. Examiner of the French and Italian and European food scenes to be like, oh yeah, well, we're going to give a Michelin star to like 62 ramen bars in downtown Tokyo, okay? It's like, it's just become watered down crap at this point. It's all marketing. It's all about advertising now. I mean, sure, at some, again, like as with Jane Beard, at some level, they do recognize quality, but beneath that, the upper level, it's just a mutual circle jerk of people going, look at me, I got my look at me imitating circle jerks here, as if I've actually been in one.
That was actually my next question, John. Yeah.
Why do you seem so at ease with both arms?
So World's 50 is an even more elitist circle jerk.
The World's 50 is just bullshit. I voted on that for 5 years too.
Did you?
Oh yeah. I was. I voted on that.
But how many did you dine at? How can you?
That's just ridiculous. You know, when they some guy who has a restaurant on a farm in Cusco, Peru, is now like the 14th best restaurant in the world. John Mariani wrote a great article about this one time. He goes, the place seats 35 people. It's open 4 days a week. Okay, it's closed a month a year. Okay, so it probably served like 2,000 people in the entire year. Okay, right. Assuming some people go there twice. So it's just a joke. It's just people sitting around pretending, giving this. The veneer, or this illusion of being objective and being highly critical and objective, when it's really just a bunch of marketing masturbation. That's all it really is. But people buy into it. I mean, I have friends. God bless you all. Go, oh man, it was number 8 in the world's best, 50's best. I ate there, and then I ate this place, just number 14. I'm like, for what? You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you're like me. When I go to a foreign town, I do a lot of research, and I'll look at that stuff, but you dig a little deeper and you find the really worthy places, the places that don't win any awards, but that the critic or a foodie or a food blogger or something goes, you want to go to a bakery? Go to this bakery. My wife found one of those in London. The thing was half the size of this studio, and that was the bakery. It was a counter, which is the size of the desk I'm sitting in, a display case, which was the size of the desk you're sitting in, and a bakery behind it, and 2 people, a baker and a seller, called Fabrique in downtown London. Incredible, amazing, just like life-changing baked goods, because 2 people are making it. It's not going to win any awards, but it shows up if you dig a little bit, and the artisanal, truly artisanal, handcrafted stuff, which is what true foodies look for.
Yeah, you don't need to rely on Michelin, even though a lot of people do.
They do. It's just a nice shortcut, but I don't know. I think you should find food bloggers, food vloggers, food vloggers, food bloggers, things like that. Screw all these big awards, All
right, we're about to wrap it up. We got 10 questions I want to fire away. I think there's going to be some gems here, but I don't know. Okay. Are you good on time?
I'm fine on time. Okay. We've been yakking for an hour. See how time flies?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Fun? Sorry, Jay and Tyler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jay. They're over there smoking a doobie. What do they care?
All right. Number 1, there is a general feeling amongst younger people that if you see a line of people waiting for food, then it's good and you should wait in line too. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Fuck that noise. There's not a food on earth worth waiting in line for. Okay? If you find me a place with people standing in line, I guarantee you there's another place around the corner or a few blocks away that's almost as good, which needs your business, okay? That's purely a product of Instagram, the fear of missing out shit that your generation, Phil Zing, your generation caused, not mine. And I say, screw it, okay? And I was in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. a year.
I remember this.
And yeah. I'm walking down. There is a line. I'm literally 2 blocks long for goddamn cupcakes. Cupcakes. Really? Cupcakes. I mean, so, yeah, I just say screw that noise.
And someone nice gave you a cupcake.
Oh, no, the young kids come out, and I'm sitting there. I'm looking at them like they're all crazy, and they go, you want a cupcake, sir? Sure. And you know what? It was a really, really good cupcake. Was it worth waiting in line an hour to get? No. It's a fucking cupcake. Go make one yourself,
I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Last time we did an episode, you were saying you had one last version of Eating Las Vegas, the only book worth reading about Vegas dining in you. 2020 was the last year of publication. How are you feeling about it now?
Got meetings with my publisher coming up this next month. I mean, to do a book like that, you've got to commit and sign the contracts in like January and February, and you do all the groundwork between January and June, and then you spend the rest of the summer writing it, which is 3 months of misery. You know what I mean? Writing and editing. So it's really a 9-month process, because you know what it's like. I mean, if I do a new one, I've got to go to all these restaurants again. Not all of them, but I got to drop by, see new menus, new price points, new chefs, blah, blah, blah. So that's a 6-month process of at least 2 restaurants a day for 6 months. You know what I mean? Sometimes 3 or 4. So I don't know. It's a big question mark right now. I'm hoping to do one more and then sail into the sunset, but I don't know right now. We'll see.
Let's get back to the 90s a little bit. What was the most effective in drawing people to local restaurants you had talked about? Was it print, radio, or your TV appearances?
Well, I'd love to say my NPR commentaries, but they went out to like 40 or 50,000 people. But it was I used to say it was the right 40,000 people because it was a lot of high income people. I to this day I have doctors and lawyers and judges and business guys come up to me and gals say, I used to listen to you all the time. I went to this place because of you, or we did my wife's wedding or my daughter's wedding here because of you. Something I talked about in 1998. You know, things like that. Back then it was like it was totally word of mouth. It's so foreign to people right now. But yeah, I had a commentary. I had the territory to myself for 5 years. I put the commentaries out there. There was a little bit of like newspaper advertising, magazines. I was one of the first magazine writers in this town. And starting in '95, I started writing for Scope, Las Vegas Life, Las Vegas Weekly, all those. I was like the first guy to write for. So that would get the conversation going. But after that, it was word of mouth. I mean, it was the TV thing didn't start till like around the turn of the century, and that was probably the biggest thing next, and that was big for like 10 years. But then when the internet hit big around 2009, 2010, that eclipsed that. So it was a whole different world back then. Restaurants would open, and they would hope that they would buy an ad maybe in a TV or in a magazine or the newspaper. They would hope somebody on a TV station or radio or in print would say, you really should try the pizza at blah, blah, blah. And then they would build an audience. Maybe there were 5 people there the first night and 15 a week later and 25. Now you open, if you do your marketing right through Las Vegas Phil, opening night, you're going to have 150 people waiting to eat there. So there's no bill. That's both a good and a bad thing. You know what I mean? So back then you could get the kinks out and spend weeks and months refining your product. Now you better hit the ground running. So.
And it's tough because a lot of them aren't ready for the blow up.
Yeah.
And
and then they lose.
You make a terrible first impression and they never.
And people don't come back. And then suddenly what you thought was going to be a big thing we were so crowded that first week, and now no one's here again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's tough.
All right.
You're pretty adamant of being against chicken parm. What would it be possible to expand on your disdain for chicken parmesan?
Chicken parm.
Or I can just quote this amazing gem that you wrote. Can I do that?
Go ahead, please.
I know that chicken parm in any guise sucks donkey dicks, and anyone who says otherwise is a pro-pandering know-nothing who touts it simply for clicks from hicks who get their licks and their kicks from endless breadsticks. I mean, that's fucking poetry.
That says it all. I love nothing more than listening to my own deathless prose
so
read back to me.
So good.
Yeah, it's. I give Vital Vegas a lot of grief about that because he holds himself out as some like. Now, because he's gotten kind of full of himself, because he's gotten a big following.
I've never met Scott.
He's a good guy. He really is a good guy. But he knows nothing about food. I mean, he knows as much about food as I know about gambling. Okay, so yeah, chicken parm is like the U2 of restaurant dishes. Okay, it's everywhere. It was never that good, but people keep listening to it. Okay, and it's a terrible dish, and it's not Italian. You're not supposed to smother chicken breasts in cheese.
It's Italian.
It's Italian. And so I don't think it ever tastes that good. It's just an excuse to get a protein in a cheese covered with tomato sauce. Anyway.
What are your travel plans for next year?
Ooh.
I need to know.
I'm going to be all over the place. Going to New Orleans in 3 weeks.
Still never been.
Oh, great.
Number one, top of the list for me for U.S. City.
Like just 4 days, but celebrating a birthday there.
Awesome.
Then Paris in April, back again to Italy in May, and then back again to Paris in August. So
that's good living.
That's good. Well, I'm at the age, you should all get here, folks. You should. Where it's like it's not about anything but me having fun. And so this year's going to be a big travel year. More out of the country than in the country. I also want to get back to Mexico City this year. You've been to Mexico City?
I haven't. That's another one.
Oh my God, what a foodie destination. And my wife, the food gal, always says we should go there more often because it's only like a 4-hour flight down there, as opposed to like the 10 hours it takes to get all the way over to England, or 11 or 12 to get to Rome or Paris. So Mexico City is 4 hours. It's like you're in Europe. The people are great. The food, you can do nothing but eat street food and have a great time, or they have high-end restaurants that are beautiful too. So Mexico City, maybe sometime this year.
I think there's a perceived idea that all the Americans are worried about getting their kidneys stolen.
You know, I went there a year and a half ago. You stay in the Polanco district, the Polanco, and it's like Beverly Hills with a Spanish accent. Okay. And the people are great. Okay, maybe there's probably some neighborhoods you don't want to drive into, but your hotel and the people we're not going to let you go there. Okay, there are certain neighborhoods you just stay inside of, and they're great. I mean, Roma is just wonderful. You walk around, you just feel like you're in a European capital, and the dollar goes really far, and the people are great. Some of the greatest restaurants on earth. That's one of the 50 best. The Pool Hole. I went to Pool Hole and Quintanilla, which are two of the best restaurants I've been to in the last 20 years, both in downtown Mexico City.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sold.
You're sold. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe the key thing these days of being a food critic, first and foremost, is not giving a fuck. It's kind of changed quite a bit. I mean, obviously, I feel like, and you feel like that too, you're the last real food critic in Las Vegas. I don't critique things. But, there's a way that new people do it on TikTok. Dave Portnoy, Keith Lee is the most recent one to come up, that don't rely on being paid by anyone to express their opinion.
Yeah.
Although they're not doing fine dining.
Well, to me, they're doing it more as personalities. You know what I mean? I play different games. I used to say about like what you do. I mean, you're in the marketing game. You're in a promotional game. They're promoting. Dave Portnoy is just promoting Dave Portnoy all the time. Okay, I'm in the opinion game. I mean, I made my reputation over almost 30 years now as having an opinion people could rely on. You might disagree with me. You can say I'm full of shit. But at least, oh yeah, well that guy at least knows something. Like you would listen to an art critic or a music critic. You may hate what he says about a concert or a favorite artist, but you go, well, it comes from a background of general knowledge that you have to respect. Well, that's my game. And that game is slowly dying, I think, along with me. And with that, we'll
have another glass.
Yeah, I'll have another glass of champagne.
All right, let me...
All right.
Doing here.
One more glass, and then let's let your ace staff here go.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Okay, but I want to give a quick plug before I leave.
All right.
I'm going with my wife tonight to 138 over in Henderson.
Yeah.
Have you been?
I went when it was served.
Okay.
And the chef, I mean, nobody's aging steaks longer locally than him. And cheers.
Cheers. Chin chin.
And it's the closest thing to Carne Vino off the strip.
Well, I'm going tonight unannounced.
Oh, Gladstone doesn't know?
Yeah, and Gladstone doesn't know. I tend to just show up these days, and I'm a lot mellower as a critic now than I was 10 years ago. I mean, if the chef looks at me and goes, "We're not ready for you, Mr. Curtas," and I've been told that many times.
Yeah.
I will shake their hand, say, "Thank you. I'll come back in a month." Okay, I've done that many times. So, but I think he's ready. I've heard good things. And I'm very excited about the Henderson food scene, so I want to see what he's doing.
Yeah, I thought it was great when it was served. Sounds like he's really evolved, a lot of that stuff, and I can't wait to go back myself.
Yeah. So that's it. Okay.
What else do you like in Henderson?
Rosa.
Yeah.
Rosa. I love the cheese store there, Valley Cheese and Wine. Rosa Ristorante and Hero Sushi. Hero Sushi is great.
Get the bar.
Yeah,
and
just go there and go nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's a big sushi bar. It has like 15 seats at it. But it's one of those places, go a couple of 2 or 3 times. Because I've noticed, I've gone with regulars both. I've been there 3 times now. But the first 2 times were with regulars. And they walk in and, you sit down and you immediately have a good rapport going with the sushi chef. Asks you what you want. He tells you this, that, whatever. Sushi, is it Hero Sushi or Sushi Hero?
Sushi Hero.
Sushi Hero.
Yeah, on Eastern.
On Eastern. And so one of my faves. So yeah, I like a lot of things. I like where Henderson's going. And of course, Lamai's out there too. Lamai.
Great
Thai.
place. Can't go wrong.
Up and coming, great neighborhood. Why they're a success in Centennial Hills has nothing but Outback Steakhouses is beyond me.
I don't know.
I can't figure it out.
Pretty soon. I think that'll change too. You've wined and dined more than anyone else in Sin City. What's some dating advice you could give to someone?
Well, now this is channeling myself in the 90s. First of all, don't blow your wad on the first date, okay? Some women are worth the French champagne and the cocaine, and some are not, okay? Okay. The best dating advice I can give a dude is, and I have fallen on my face with women, find out what she likes and go there first, even if it isn't what you like, okay? Go with her. Trying to force someone to go like seafood when you don't like seafood, or taking someone to a steakhouse to have them go, oh, I don't eat much meat. That's just a big disaster. You're never getting any that way. So I try to take it easy on the first few dates until you kind of feel each other out, literally and figuratively.
Boom.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Cipriani is a place that's near and dear to you. You hold court there pretty much every Friday for lunch with a really fun group. I'm sure there's a lot of restaurants that would love to have you in that often. Tell me why Cipriani is the place.
Well, it's true to its roots. It's a Northern Italian restaurant, no garlic, very much Venetian in scope, great seafood, very unadorned food, very much like what you get in Northern Italian restaurants like that. Not a gussied up stuff, not a lot of garlic, not a lot of tomato sauce. So I just like the purity of ingredients, and the service is the best in town. It's a white tablecloth lunch, excuse me. This is the fourth glass of champagne I'm on here. But before I forget, Phil, I wanted to say this. I know we're way over on time here, but I want to start doing something with you involved. What I do Fridays at Cipriani, because I like the food there and the service there so much, as a formal kind of dress-up lunch. I want to start doing the same thing on Thursdays in Chinatown. And I want to do it with food bloggers, foodies, Asian food-involved people. The friends I go to Cipriani with are just kind of an inner core of good friends. I want to start doing a Thursday lunch that becomes kind of famous in Chinatown on Spring Mountain Road. Could be at the same place every week, or could be kind of, it's almost like the rotation at the British Open. They have the same 8 or 9 golf courses they move around, like having like a rota of maybe 4 or 5 restaurants. And we do it every Thursday, and just, when we can, and build that up as a reputation of a place to sort of check out the restaurant, check out each other, see what's hot, what's not, talk about, tips, picks, pans, that sort of thing. So I'm going to work.
That's a podcast right there.
That's a podcast right there.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to you about it. I'm talking to the gal at KMPR about it, Lorraine.
Yep. Oh, Lorraine's great.
Lorraine's great. And just try to get a group together that's kind of expanding and contracting. Sometimes it might be 3 people. Sometimes it might be 10 people. See. So I've got some restaurants in mind. China Mama, for example, District 1. Maybe an izakaya or 2.
Sounds great.
Some Korean place, where we can all just have a meat fest,
Yeah.
So
I'm down.
So
I'm down.
Good.
And finally, I'm going to name several restaurants in Vegas that have been around for a very long time. John, just please give me as short as a 1-word answer on each, or as long as you want to go on about each one if you have maybe some memory.
Oh my God, we're going long. Okay.
We're going long. Okay.
It's okay.
First one is Paymons.
He threatened to blow up my car once.
Jesus.
Yes, he did.
Okay. I know he's not a fan of you. I talked to Paymon about this.
Yeah. He threatened to
blow up your car.
Yeah, he did.
That's some casino shit there.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay. Kung Fu Thai Chinese.
I like it. Terribly dated food.
Really dated.
Dated and decor. Yeah. Nothing great about it, but it fills a bill. And I kind of admire them for hanging on there from 1975 or something.
So long. Yeah. I pass by that place all the time because I come from Portage, and it's usually pretty filled.
It's filled, and I like it. Every time I go there, I have a good time, even if I get the Mugu Gai Pan or something like that.
Right.
It's always good.
Okay. Golden Steer.
A great resurgence, great renaissance. It's now upper tier steakhouse where it had fallen on hard times.
You did a great feature with Munchies.
Yeah.
And Stevie Chu.
He's great.
That was amazing.
Yeah, Stevie's great. Yeah, wonderful.
Marrakesh.
Great for belly dancing. Okay. Last time, but I don't like belly dancing. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, all right. Bob Taylor's Ranch House.
Terrible. It either needs to be put out of its misery, like an old horse, or a chef or a good restaurateur needs to take it over, because the people that are running it now are just milking an old cow.
Yeah.
Sad, actually.
I agree.
Because it could be great. It could be great. It could be Golden Steer Northwest, okay? The ranch house, all the old pictures on the walls.
character is great.
The wagon wheels.
Yeah.
Everything the same, just people that like good food running the place. Not the same recipes they've used since 1976. Okay. Yeah.
Hugo's Cellar.
One of the worst restaurants in town.
Top of the world.
Great view. It's a pain in the ass to get to. Who cares?
I agree. And it's weird to see the people free falling.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those places that it's fine, but nothing I'm going to go out of my way to go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Triple George.
A consistent disappointment. Another place like Bob Taylor's,
Reputation.
that with the right chef could just sing. It's got a good frame around it. Okay, it's got good bones, but it's just running on reputation and it's mired in mediocrity. So someone has to get it out of that. Okay, but I would love to love Triple George if I could.
Right. And finally, Blueberry Hill.
Do you have a shotgun? Hey guys, you have a shotgun? Put it in my mouth right now and pull the goddamn trigger. Okay?
Right.
I mean, yeah, the place to go for 99-cent breakfast. Okay? Yes.
All right.
All right.
That about wraps it up, John. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
This is great. And the champagne is great.
Yes.
Your staff
Cheers.
is great. You're great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I only do this because I love your wife. You understand that?
I know.
I just put up with you because Ayumi is so beautiful. Okay?
I agree. It's always fun chatting, and I've mentioned many times before that this podcast is simply just an excuse to hang out with people I should hang out with more. So follow John at Eating Las Vegas on Twitter, at John Curtas on IG and TikTok, and his awesome website, eatinglv.com. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
See ya.
Plancha.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegasville podcast. For more information about me and where I've been dining recently, check out my IG and TikTok at Las Vegasville. Feel free to text or leave me a voicemail about anything you want, 702-551-4445. Stay tuned as a new episode of the show debuts every Monday morning.